The person you love talked to someone about you. Listen to this. Don't scroll, listen to this. This message is for you. And if your chest tightened or your breath shifted the second you read that title, that wasn't coincidence, that was intuition waking up, and your heart needs this right now because something happened behind the scenes that the universe wants you to feel before you ever hear it in words. And listen closely, because the person you love didn't just casually mention you. They didn't drop your name by accident, they spoke about you because you've been living rent-free in their spirit. And don't scroll, listen to this, because when someone talks about you to another person, it means they couldn't hold it in anymore. It means your energy was pressing on them, asking to be acknowledged, and your heart needs this right now because you've been sensing something shifting without proof. And listen to this truth. The universe always moves in energy before it moves in action. And don't scroll. Listen to this, because this conversation wasn't light, it wasn't surface level, it wasn't just, oh yeah, I know them. It was emotional, reflective, weighted, the kind of conversation where someone pauses mid-sentence because they don't know how to explain what you do to them. And your heart needs this right now because you've questioned whether you mattered as much as you felt. And listen carefully, you don't talk about someone like that unless they matter deeply. And don't scroll. Listen to this, because the reason they talked about you now is because something inside them is waking up, something they tried to ignore, distract themselves from, or rationalize away. And your heart needs this right now because awakening doesn't always look like love confessions. Sometimes it looks like asking someone else, why can't I stop thinking about them? And listen closely, because soulmate connections don't dissolve quietly, they resurface through conversations, memories, comparisons, and moments of unexpected honesty. And don't scroll, listen to this, because the universe has been sending you signs to confirm this before you ever knew it consciously. Angel numbers like 11. 11 showing up when your thoughts drift to them, reminding you that alignment is active. 222 appearing when you question whether to detach, reminding you that balance is being restored. 444 showing up when you feel oddly calm despite the silence, reminding you that you're protected. And your heart needs this right now because those signs weren't about pulling you back, they were about grounding you in truth. And listen carefully, because when they talked about you, it wasn't about what you did wrong, it wasn't about blame or closure, it was about impact, about how you made them feel seen, unsettled, challenged, changed. And don't scroll, listen to this, because people don't discuss impact unless something is unresolved inside them. And your heart needs this right now because you may have mistaken silence for indifference. And listen to this truth, silence is often where the loudest processing happens. And don't scroll, listen to this, because the person you love was trying to understand themselves through talking about you, trying to figure out why moving on didn't feel right, why other connections didn't land the same, why your name still carried weight. And your heart needs this right now because you didn't imagine the pull, you felt it because it was real. And listen closely, because the universe often reveals truth indirectly first, through third-party conversations, through energetic shifts, through dreams and sudden thoughts, before it ever shows up face to face. And don't scroll, listen to this, because you may have felt waves of emotion lately that didn't feel like yours, moments of nostalgia without memory, heaviness without reason. And your heart needs this right now because that was the echo of them processing you. And listen carefully, because soulmate energy is shared. When one person stirs it, the other feels the ripple. And don't scroll, listen to this, because the reason you're hearing this message now is not to pull you into anxiety or waiting, it's to validate what you already knew deep down, that this connection mattered, that it wasn't one-sided, that it left a mark, and your heart needs this right now because validation heals doubt, and listen closely, because the universe is careful not to reveal this to feed your ego, but to steady your heart, and don't scroll, listen to this, because steadiness is what you need in this phase, not chasing, not guessing, not overthinking, and your heart needs this right now. Because how you hold yourself now determines what happens next, and listen carefully, because when they talked about you, it forced them into honesty about what they avoided, what they felt but didn't express, what they lost by not showing up fully, and don't scroll, listen to this, because honesty is the first step before any real shift can happen, and your heart needs this right now because shifts don't always mean reunion. Sometimes they mean closure, clarity, or a higher level. Reconnection, and listen closely, because the universe is not asking you to do anything with this information yet, it's asking you to receive it without reacting, and don't scroll, listen to this, because reaction pulls you out of alignment, and your heart needs this right now because alignment is what's protecting you, and listen carefully, because you are not meant to reach out impulsively, explain yourself, or test the energy. You are meant to stay grounded, calm, and open without attachment, and don't scroll, listen to this, because that calm you've been cultivating is the reason the universe trusts you with this truth now, and your heart needs this right now because you're no longer the version of yourself that collapses into uncertainty, and listen closely, because the person you love speaking about you means the story is not forgotten, but the direction it takes depends on growth, timing, and divine order, not force. And don't scroll, listen to this, because forcing outcomes is what delays destiny, and your heart needs this right now because destiny moves when you're aligned, not when you're anxious, and listen carefully, because this message ends on a cliffhanger for a reason, not because something dramatic is about to explode, but because something quiet is aligning, and don't scroll, listen to this, because quiet alignment often precedes the most meaningful shifts, and your heart needs this right now to trust that you don't need to chase proof, the universe already confirmed what your soul felt, and whatever unfolds next will meet you where you are now, not where you used to be, grounded, aware, and no longer doubting your worth, and listen closely, because when someone speaks your name with emotion behind closed doors, the universe is already working on the next chapter, and all you're being asked to do is stay present, stay open, and let what's meant to surface do so without you abandoning yourself again. Don't scroll, listen to this message is for you. And if you felt drawn back here after part 1, your heart needs this right now because the universe doesn't repeat itself unless something deeper is unfolding, and listen closely because what happened after that conversation is just as important as the conversation itself, and this message is for you if you felt a strange calm mixed with anticipation, like something is forming but not rushing, and don't scroll, listen to this, because after they spoke about you, something shifted inside them, not dramatically on the outside, but internally, the way truth rearranges priorities, and your heart needs this right now because when someone finally says your name out loud to another person, especially with emotion behind it, they can't take it back, it becomes real, it leaves the realm of avoidance and enters awareness, and listen carefully. Because awareness is the most uncomfortable place for unresolved feelings to sit, and don't scroll, listen to this, because that awareness forced them to revisit moments they tried to downplay, conversations they brushed off, feelings they delayed, and your heart needs this right now because delay does not erase emotion, it intensifies it, and listen closely, because after that conversation, they didn't suddenly forget you, they felt you more clearly, and don't scroll, listen to this, Because clarity is disruptive when someone has been numbing themselves with distractions, and your heart needs this right now because you may have sensed this disruption as emotional waves, sudden thoughts, or a heaviness that didn't belong to you, and listen to this truth. Soulmate connections transmit emotion when one soul wakes up before the other, and don't scroll, listen to this, because the universe has been giving you signs that this awakening was happening on their side. Angel numbers appearing at odd moments. 11. 11 when your thoughts drifted to them without effort, signaling alignment in consciousness. 222 when doubt tried to creep in, reminding you that balance is being restored whether you see it or not. 444 when you felt unexpectedly grounded, reminding you that you are protected during this energetic shift, and your heart needs this right now because signs are not there to make you wait. They are there to make you trust, and listen carefully, because after speaking about you, they began to question themselves, not you. They questioned why they didn't show up differently, why they held back, why they tried to move on before understanding what they were leaving behind. And don't scroll, listen to this, because self-questioning is the doorway to accountability, and your heart needs this right now because accountability cannot be forced, it only arrives when truth is faced willingly. And listen closely, because the universe is not revealing this to pull you back into emotional turbulence. It's revealing it to release you from self-doubt. And don't scroll, listen to this, because you are not meant to interpret this as a signal to act impulsively, reach out, or test the waters, and your heart needs this right now because patience is protection in this phase. And listen carefully, because after that conversation, they noticed the absence more clearly, the way your energy was no longer filling space for them, the way silence felt different now that it was named. And don't scroll. Listen to this, because naming something gives it weight, and your heart needs this right now because weight changes how people carry memory. And listen closely, because they started comparing, not in a superficial way, but in a soul way, noticing how other connections didn't land the same, didn't feel as honest, didn't stir the same depth. And don't scroll, listen to this, because comparison is not always about choosing someone else. Sometimes it's about realizing what cannot be replaced, and your heart needs this right now because you didn't imagine the uniqueness of the bond. And listen carefully, because the universe often lets people realize value in the quiet, not in confrontation. And don't scroll, listen to this, because confrontation triggers defense, while quiet realization triggers truth. And your heart needs this right now because truth unfolds slowly, safely, and in layers. And listen closely, because after that conversation, their emotional state shifted from avoidance to reflection, and reflection is where growth begins. And don't scroll, listen to this, because growth doesn't guarantee outcomes, but it guarantees clarity. And your heart needs this right now because clarity is what you've been asking for, even if you didn't know it consciously. And listen carefully, because the universe is aligning you to receive clarity without pain, without chasing, without self-betrayal. And don't scroll, listen to this, because how you hold yourself now matters more than what they do next. And your heart needs this right now because the old version of you would have reacted to this information with anxiety, overthinking, or emotional urgency. And listen to this truth, the new version of you receives information calmly, grounded in self-worth. And don't scroll, listen to this, because this calm is not detachment, it's maturity. And your heart needs this right now because maturity changes how destiny responds to you. And listen closely, because the universe is watching whether you stay aligned or slip back into old patterns. And don't scroll, listen to this, because alignment is what allows things to unfold naturally, without force, without manipulation, without regret, and your heart needs this right now because forcing outcomes always costs peace, and listen carefully, because after that conversation, the energy between you did not disappear, it stabilized. Like a chord finally tuning itself after tension, and don't scroll, listen to this, because stabilization can feel like nothing is happening when in reality everything is reorganizing, and your heart needs this right now because you are in a reorganization phase, not a waiting phase, and listen closely, because the universe is not asking you to pause your life, your joy, your growth, it's asking you to continue being exactly where you are energetically, grounded, open, unattached to outcome, and don't scroll. Listen to this. Because unattached does not mean uninterested, it means trusting that what's meant for you will not require you to shrink, chase, or doubt yourself, and your heart needs this right now because doubt has been dissolving lately, and listen carefully, because that dissolution is the clearest sign that you're aligned, not their actions, not their silence, but your inner steadiness, and don't scroll. Listen to this, because steadiness is the language the universe responds to, and your heart needs this right now because the universe cannot deliver clarity to a nervous system stuck in fear, and listen closely, because you have created space for truth to arrive without hurting you, and don't scroll. Listen to this, because that is not accidental, it's earned, and your heart needs this right now because whatever unfolds next will meet you at this level, not pull you back to where you were, and listen carefully, because this part ends not with a prediction, but with a grounding truth settling into you. The truth that the conversation they had about you did not weaken your position, it strengthened it, not because it guarantees a certain outcome, but because it confirmed that your presence mattered. Your impact was real, and your intuition was right, and don't scroll, listen to this, because the universe only confirms what you are ready to hold without losing yourself, and your heart needs this right now because you are no longer fragile in this connection, you are grounded, and from grounded energy, anything that unfolds will be honest, intentional, and aligned, and that is the only way destiny moves forward. Don't scroll, listen to this message is for you, and if you're still here after everything you've already heard, your heart needs this right now because this is the layer where the universe stops hinting and starts settling truth into your body, not as urgency, not as fear, but as a deep knowing that refuses to be ignored, and listen closely because what unfolded after that conversation is still unfolding. Just not in a way the mind can track easily, and this message is for you if you've felt moments of sudden calm followed by brief waves of emotion, like something is loosening, releasing, rearranging inside you, and don't scroll, listen to this, because that sensation is not confusion, it's integration, and integration happens when truth sinks below thought and into the nervous system. And your heart needs this right now because part of you is still tempted to interpret silence as nothing happening. And listen to this truth, silence is often where the most honest decisions are being formed, and don't scroll, listen to this, because after they talked about you, the energy did not rush forward, it slowed down, and slowing down is what happens when something becomes serious, when feelings move from reaction into reflection, and your heart needs this right now because reflection does not announce itself with messages or gestures, it announces itself with restraint, hesitation, and reconsideration. And listen closely, because the person you love is now sitting with the weight of what they said out loud about you, and once words leave the mouth, they echo back to the speaker, forcing alignment or discomfort, and don't scroll, listen to this, because that echo is what they're feeling now, the realization that their feelings are no longer abstract, no longer deniable, no longer safely tucked away, and your heart needs this right now because you felt that echo too, not as thoughts, but as shifts in mood, changes in dreams, moments of stillness that feel charged. And listen carefully, because soulmate connections communicate through sensation before communication. And don't scroll, listen to this, because the universe has been preparing you to receive this phase without spiraling, and your heart needs this right now because the old version of you would have tried to do something with this information. Reach out, test the energy, look for confirmation, and listen to this truth. Growth is knowing when not to act, and don't scroll, listen to this. Because restraint is not weakness here, it's wisdom, and your heart needs this right now because wisdom protects what is still forming. And listen closely, because after that conversation, they began noticing patterns, not just about you, but about themselves, patterns of avoidance, timing, emotional delay, and the ways they minimize feelings until they become unavoidable. And don't scroll, listen to this. Because self-awareness does not feel good at first, it feels exposing, and your heart needs this right now because exposure is the gateway to honesty, and honesty is the only place real decisions are made. And listen carefully, because the universe is not revealing this to promise a specific outcome, it's revealing it to release you from self-doubt. And don't scroll, listen to this, because doubt has been the quiet thief of your peace, making you question whether you mattered, whether you misread things, whether you imagined depth that wasn't there. And your heart needs this right now because doubt dissolves when truth is acknowledged, even indirectly. And listen closely, because someone doesn't talk about you with emotion unless you touched something real inside them. And don't scroll, listen to this, because the reason this message feels grounding instead of chaotic is because you are no longer dependent on outcomes for validation. And your heart needs this right now because independence is the frequency that allows destiny to move without resistance. And listen carefully, because the universe is watching how you hold this truth, not whether you chase it. And don't scroll, listen to this, because chasing collapses energy, while holding steadiness expands it. And your heart needs this right now because expansion is happening quietly around you, not just in this connection, but in how you relate to yourself. And listen closely, because you may have noticed that you're no longer replaying conversations obsessively, no longer checking signs with desperation, no longer bracing for disappointment. And don't scroll, listen to this, because that shift is not detachment, it's security forming inside you. And your heart needs this right now because security is what allows love to arrive without fear. And listen carefully, because the person you love is now confronting a choice internally, not about you directly, but about how they live with their truth. And don't scroll, listen to this, because choices made at this level take time, and your heart needs this right now because time is not delay when alignment is being considered, it's discernment. And listen closely, because the universe is protecting you from premature movement, from words spoken before readiness, from actions taken out of fear instead of clarity. And don't scroll, listen to this, because protection doesn't always look like progress, sometimes it looks like pause. And your heart needs this right now because pause used to trigger anxiety in you, and now it feels tolerable, even peaceful. And listen carefully, because that peace is the clearest sign that you are aligned, not their behavior, not their timing, but your internal state. And don't scroll, listen to this, because the universe responds to calm certainty, not emotional urgency. And your heart needs this right now because you are finally embodying calm certainty, even when curiosity flickers. And listen closely, because curiosity is not intuition, and you are learning the difference now. And don't scroll, listen to this, because intuition speaks softly and does not rush you. and your heart needs this right now because rushing always pulled you back into old dynamics, and listen carefully, because the conversation they had about you has placed you in a different energetic position, not above them, not below them, but clear of doubt, clear of illusion, clear of self-blame, and don't scroll, listen to this. Because clarity is power that does not need to be asserted, and your heart needs this right now because power that is quiet is sustainable, and listen closely, because whatever unfolds next will not require you to abandon this steadiness, and don't scroll, listen to this, because anything that tries to pull you out of peace is not aligned with where you are now, and your heart needs this right now because you are no longer available for emotional chaos disguised as connection, and listen carefully. Because the universe is also using this moment to show you how deeply you trust yourself now, how you can hold information without reacting, how you can feel without collapsing, how you can wait without anxiety, and don't scroll, listen to this, because these are not small shifts, they are milestones, and your heart needs this right now because milestones often pass quietly, without celebration. And listen closely, because the reason this part matters is not because it predicts what they will do next, but because it confirms who you are now, grounded, aware, emotionally sovereign, and don't scroll, listen to this, because emotional sovereignty changes how everything unfolds around you, and your heart needs this right now because sovereignty attracts honesty, whether that honesty arrives as communication, closure, or release, and listen carefully, because honesty is coming, but it will arrive in a way that does not destabilize you, and don't scroll, listen to this, because destabilization is no longer the path for your growth, and your heart needs this right now because growth now looks like steadiness, discernment, and trust, and listen closely, because trust does not mean blind hope, it means confidence that whatever is meant to meet you will do so without you chasing, forcing, or doubting yourself, and don't scroll, listen to this, because the universe does not reveal behind-the-scenes truths to those who are not ready to hold them calmly. And your heart needs this right now because you are ready, and listen carefully, because this part ends not with suspense meant to hook you, but with a grounding realization meant to anchor you, the realization that the conversation they had about you did not create uncertainty, it resolved it internally, not necessarily in the way you expect, but in the way that frees you from self-questioning, and don't scroll, listen to this, because freedom from self-questioning is the real gift here, and your heart needs this right now because when you stop questioning your worth, your intuition, your impact, the universe can finally move openly around you, and whatever happens next will not catch you off guard, because you are no longer standing in fear, you are standing in truth, and truth does not rush, it remains, steady, calm, and unshakable. Don't scroll, listen to this message is for you, and if you've stayed through everything up to now, your heart needs this right now because this is the phase where the universe stops whispering and starts confirming, not with noise, not with drama, but with precision, timing, and divine numbers that keep appearing exactly when your thoughts drift to them, and listen closely because numbers are the universe's punctuation marks. And right now they're showing up to stabilize you, not to excite you. And if you've been seeing 1111, understand this clearly. 1111 is not asking you to make a wish anymore, it's confirming alignment, it's the universe saying your awareness has caught up to reality, and that alignment is what allowed the truth about that conversation to surface without shaking you. And don't scroll, listen to this, because 11 appears when two energies are conscious of each other at the same time, even if they're not speaking, and your heart needs this right now because you've felt that simultaneous awareness, those moments where you knew they were thinking about you without proof, and listen carefully, because awareness on both sides is what moves a connection out of denial and into reckoning. And don't scroll, listen to this. Because then 222 started appearing, maybe subtly, maybe repeatedly, especially when doubt tried to creep back in, and 222 is the divine signal of balance being restored, not balance between you and them, but balance within you, and your heart needs this right now because balance is what prevents you from overinterpreting, overreaching, or collapsing into old patterns. And listen closely, because 222 is the universe saying, do not rush, do not interfere, stay centered. And that's exactly what you've been doing, even if it didn't feel intentional. And don't scroll, listen to this, because 333 may have shown up during emotional moments, when you felt waves of feeling without a clear source, and 333 is the number of divine support, reminding you that you are not holding this alone, that unseen help is stabilizing the situation while you remain grounded, and your heart needs this right now because emotional waves used to overwhelm you. And now they pass through without pulling you under. And listen carefully, because that change is not accidental, it's growth. And don't scroll, listen to this, because 444 has been appearing when you feel calm despite uncertainty, and 444 is the strongest confirmation of protection, not protection from heartbreak, but protection of your alignment, and your heart needs this right now because alignment is fragile when it's new. And the universe guards it fiercely, and listen closely, because 444 shows up when the foundation is solid, when you are standing on self-respect instead of hope alone. And don't scroll, listen to this, because 555 may have flashed briefly too, especially when you thought about what might happen next, and 555 is the number of irreversible change, the universe saying, this cannot go back to how it was, and your heart needs this right now because part of you still wonders if things could return to the old dynamic. And listen to this truth, divine change does not reverse, it refines. And don't scroll, listen to this, because 666 may have appeared during moments of mental spiraling, and 666 is not a warning. It's a recalibration, it's the universe saying, bring your thoughts back into alignment, don't let fear narrate this, and your heart needs this right now because fear used to take over quickly, and now you catch it sooner. And listen carefully, because 777 is the number anchoring this entire phase, and 777 is divine confirmation sealed. It appears when something is locked in energetically, when truth has been acknowledged on a soul level, even if words haven't followed yet. And don't scroll, listen to this, because 777 is not about waiting, it's about knowing, and your heart needs this right now because knowing feels calmer than hoping. And listen closely, because 888 may have shown up when you reflected on worth, reciprocity, or equality. And 888 is the number of energetic exchange being corrected, the universe saying, you will no longer give more than you receive to keep a connection alive, and your heart needs this right now because overgiving once felt like love. And listen to this truth, love rooted in imbalance always corrects itself eventually. And don't scroll, listen to this, because 999 has likely appeared quietly, maybe once, maybe twice, and 999 is completion, not loss, completion of the version of you who waited in uncertainty, questioned their intuition, or shrank to maintain connection. And your heart needs this right now because completion frees energy, and freed energy attracts clarity. And listen carefully, because these divine numbers are not about predicting their next move, they are about anchoring your position. And don't scroll, listen to this, because the universe is not asking you to decode the signs anymore, it's asking you to trust what they're confirming, and your heart needs this right now because trust replaces anxiety when growth is integrated. And listen closely. Because the reason these numbers intensified after they talked about you is because that conversation crossed an energetic threshold, something was acknowledged out loud that could no longer be denied internally. And don't scroll, listen to this, because acknowledgement is the doorway to truth, and truth reorganizes everything quietly, and your heart needs this right now because reorganization can feel like nothing is happening when everything is shifting beneath the surface. And listen carefully, because the universe is also watching how you respond to divine confirmation, whether you rush to act or remain grounded. And don't scroll. Listen to this, because remaining grounded is the assignment, and your heart needs this right now because grounded energy is what allows honesty to arrive without chaos. And listen closely, because any communication that comes next, if it comes, will meet you at your level of steadiness, not pull you back into uncertainty. And don't scroll, listen to this, because the universe does not elevate someone just to see if they'll fall back into old patterns, and your heart needs this right now because you are being protected from regression. And listen carefully, because divine numbers are now appearing as anchors, not signs to chase. And don't scroll, listen to this, because chasing signs keeps you in the mind, while anchors settle you in the body. And your heart needs this right now because your body finally feels safe. And listen closely, because safety is the clearest indicator that you're aligned, not outcomes, not timelines, not predictions. And don't scroll, listen to this, because alignment feels like calm curiosity instead of anxious waiting. And your heart needs this right now because calm curiosity allows truth to approach naturally. And listen carefully, because the universe is also signaling that you are no longer meant to interpret everything through emotion alone. You're meant to trust the steadiness you feel now. And don't scroll, listen to this, because steadiness is the frequency that invites clarity without pain. And your heart needs this right now because pain is no longer required for growth. And listen closely, because the divine numbers are confirming something else quietly, that whatever unfolds from here will not destabilize you, it will meet you. And don't scroll, listen to this, because meeting energy does not chase, it aligns. And your heart needs this right now because alignment is where destiny operates most smoothly. And listen carefully, because part 4 closes not with suspense meant to hook you, but with a grounding truth meant to anchor you. The truth that divine confirmation has already been given, not about a specific outcome, but about your position, your growth, your readiness. And don't scroll, listen to this, because readiness does not mean something must happen immediately. It means when something does happen, you will be able to receive it without losing yourself. And your heart needs this right now because that is the real blessing the universe has been preparing you for: stability, clarity, and peace. And from that place, whatever comes next will arrive honestly, intentionally, and without shaking the ground you're standing on, because you are no longer standing on hope alone. You are standing on alignment. Don't scroll, listen to this. This message is for you. And if you've made it this far, your heart needs this right now because this is the moment where the universe gently shifts the focus from them back to you, not because they don't matter, but because you finally matter enough to be centered in your own story. And listen closely because what's unfolding now is subtle, sacred, and stabilizing. And this message is for you if you've noticed that the emotional charge around the situation has changed. Not disappeared, but softened, like something has settled into place without needing answers. And don't scroll, listen to this, because that settling is not resignation, it's resolution beginning internally. and your heart needs this right now because resolution does not always come through conversations, sometimes it comes through clarity, and listen carefully, because after everything that has been revealed, processed, and confirmed, the universe is now asking you to stand still in who you've become, and don't scroll, listen to this, because standing still used to feel terrifying to you, like you might miss something, lose something, fall behind, and your heart needs this right now because you're learning that stillness does not mean stagnation, it means trust, and listen closely, because trust is the frequency that allows truth to approach gently instead of crashing in, and don't scroll, listen to this, because the person you love talking about you stirred awareness, but what happens next depends on whether awareness matures into action or remains a lesson, and your heart needs this right now because either outcome is safe for you now, and listen carefully, because that safety didn't exist before, and don't scroll, listen to this, because you are no longer emotionally dependent on a specific response, and your heart needs this right now because emotional independence is not detachment, it's grounding. And grounding is what allows love to enter without destabilizing you, and listen closely, because the universe has been preparing you to receive truth without collapsing into anxiety, and don't scroll, listen to this, because you've noticed that you can think about them now without spiraling, without replaying every detail, without bargaining with fate, and your heart needs this right now because that is not indifference. It is growth, and listen carefully, because growth often feels quieter than healing, and don't scroll, listen to this. Because healing feels dramatic, but growth feels solid, and your heart needs this right now because solidity is what you lacked before, not love, not effort, but inner stability, and listen closely, because the universe has been building that stability through every pause, every unanswered question, every moment you chose not to react, and don't scroll, listen to this, because those moments mattered more than you realized, and your heart needs this right now because you may still be waiting for some external confirmation that this was all real, that it meant something, that you weren't imagining it, and listen to this truth, the confirmation already came in how you changed, not in what they did, and don't scroll, listen to this, because change is the clearest proof that something touched you deeply, and your heart needs this right now because the way you love is different now, the way you listen to your intuition is sharper, the way you hold boundaries is calmer, and listen carefully. Because those shifts did not happen in isolation, they happened because something awakened inside you through this connection, and don't scroll, listen to this, because awakening is irreversible, and your heart needs this right now because irreversible growth means you cannot go back to old dynamics even if you wanted to, and listen closely, because the universe is protecting you from nostalgia that romanticizes confusion. And don't scroll, listen to this, because nostalgia is selective, but clarity is honest, and your heart needs this right now because honesty is what allows you to move forward without regret, and listen carefully, because the person you love may still be processing, still reflecting, still deciding what to do with their truth, and don't scroll, listen to this, because their timeline is no longer yours, and your heart needs this right now because separation of timelines is part of spiritual maturity. And listen closely, because maturity does not mean closing your heart, it means trusting yourself enough to let others move at their own pace without abandoning your own growth, and don't scroll, listen to this, because abandonment used to be your biggest fear, and your heart needs this right now because you're realizing the only abandonment that ever truly hurt was abandoning yourself, and listen carefully, because you are no longer doing that, even in moments of uncertainty, and don't scroll, listen to this, because that is the quiet victory no one sees. And your heart needs this right now because victories don't always look like outcomes, sometimes they look like peace where there used to be panic, and listen closely, because peace has been growing in you steadily, not all at once, but consistently, and don't scroll, listen to this, because consistency is what makes peace real, not fleeting, and your heart needs this right now because fleeting emotions used to control your decisions. And now discernment does, and listen carefully, because discernment does not rush you, it waits until your body feels safe, and don't scroll, listen to this, because safety is the new baseline for your heart, and your heart needs this right now because safety allows love to be chosen, not clung to, and listen closely, because choosing love freely is very different from holding onto it out of fear. And don't scroll, listen to this, because fear no longer gets to narrate your story. And your heart needs this right now because fear kept you small, reactive, and doubting yourself, and listen carefully, because the universe has been dismantling that fear piece by piece, and don't scroll, listen to this, because dismantling does not feel dramatic, it feels gradual. Like realizing one day that something that used to trigger you no longer does, and your heart needs this right now because that realization can feel anticlimactic, and listen to this truth. Anticlimactic does not mean insignificant, it means integrated, and don't scroll, listen to this, because integration is what allows you to carry lessons forward without pain. And your heart needs this right now because carrying pain is not the same as carrying wisdom, and listen closely, because you are now carrying wisdom, and don't scroll, listen to this, because wisdom changes how destiny responds to you, and your heart needs this right now because destiny does not chase chaotic energy, it meets grounded energy. And listen carefully, because you are grounded now, not because everything is resolved, but because you trust yourself regardless of outcome, and don't scroll, listen to this, because trusting yourself is the highest form of alignment, and your heart needs this right now because alignment does not guarantee specific results, it guarantees right results, and listen closely, because right results always feel calmer than expected, and don't scroll, listen to this. Because calm does not mean boring. It means sustainable, and your heart needs this right now. Because sustainability is what your soul has been craving, and listen carefully, because the universe is no longer asking you to wait, watch, or wonder, it's asking you to live, to keep moving forward in your life, your joy, your growth, without placing anything on hold, and don't scroll, listen to this. Because holding your life hostage to uncertainty is no longer part of your path. And your heart needs this right now because your life is happening now, not after clarity arrives, and listen closely, because clarity often arrives when you stop demanding it, and don't scroll, listen to this, because demanding keeps you tense, while trusting keeps you open. And your heart needs this right now because openness is what allows truth to come in gently, and listen carefully, because whatever the next chapter looks like, communication, closure, or complete release, it will arrive without chaos, without panic, without forcing, and don't scroll, listen to this, because that is the promise alignment makes, not that everything goes your way, but that everything meets you where you are strong enough to handle it, and your heart needs this right now because you are strong in a way you weren't before, not hardened, but rooted, and listen closely, because roots are invisible, but they hold everything steady, and don't scroll, listen to this, because this part ends with a grounding truth meant to stay with you, the truth that nothing about this experience was meant to destabilize you forever, it was meant to grow you into someone who no longer loses themselves in uncertainty, and your heart needs this right now because you are no longer waiting to be chosen by circumstances, You are choosing yourself consistently, and from that place, whatever comes next will not confuse you. It will recognize you, and recognition feels calm, mutual, and unmistakably right. Don't scroll, listen to this. This message is for you, and if you're still here, your heart needs this right now, because this is the stage where the universe stops circling the truth and gently places it right in your hands, not as pressure, not as urgency, but as choice. And listen closely, because what you're feeling now is not confusion anymore, it's readiness, even if it doesn't feel dramatic, even if it feels quiet, steady, almost unfamiliar. And don't scroll, listen to this, because unfamiliar calm can be mistaken for nothing happening, when in reality everything has finally aligned enough to move without friction. And your heart needs this right now, because you've spent so long bracing for impact that ease feels suspicious. And listen carefully, because ease is not the absence of meaning, it's the presence of alignment. And this message is for you if you've noticed that the emotional pull has changed, not vanished, but softened into something more grounded, like you can hold the memory without it holding you. And don't scroll, listen to this, because that shift is the clearest evidence of growth, not their actions, not timelines, but your capacity to stay centered. And your heart needs this right now, because staying centered used to feel impossible when love was involved. And listen closely, because the universe has been teaching you how to remain yourself even when emotions arise. And don't scroll, listen to this, because remaining yourself is the lesson that prepares you for what's next. And your heart needs this right now, because what's next will not ask you to abandon this steadiness. And listen carefully, because the person you love talking about you created awareness, but awareness alone does not determine destiny, response does. And don't scroll, listen to this, because response is not about what they do, it's about how you choose to hold your life now. And your heart needs this right now, because you are no longer pausing your life waiting for clarity. You are living with clarity even while outcomes remain open. And listen closely, because that is a profound shift. And don't scroll, listen to this, because the universe responds differently to someone who is living instead of waiting. And your heart needs this right now, because waiting kept you in limbo, while living keeps you in motion. And listen carefully, because motion does not mean rushing. It means honoring your present moment, your joy, your growth, your connections, without attaching them to a single unresolved story. And don't scroll, listen to this, because detaching outcomes is not giving up, it's giving space for truth to arrive cleanly. And your heart needs this right now, because space is where honesty breathes. And listen closely, because honesty may arrive in many forms: a conversation, a realization, a release, or a redirection. And don't scroll, listen to this, because all of those are safe for you now. And your heart needs this right now, because safety is not dependent on external reassurance anymore, it's internal. And listen carefully, because internal safety changes how everything lands, even difficult truths. And don't scroll, listen to this, because you are no longer bracing yourself for disappointment the way you used to. And your heart needs this right now, because bracing was exhausting. And listen closely, because the universe has been slowly unwinding that habit, teaching you that you don't need to anticipate pain to survive. And don't scroll, listen to this, because survival mode kept you alert but never at peace. And your heart needs this right now, because peace is becoming your baseline. And listen carefully, because baseline peace does not mean you stop caring, it means caring no longer costs you your balance. And don't scroll, listen to this, because balance is what allows you to show up fully in your life without shrinking or overextending. And your heart needs this right now, because overextending used to feel like love, and listen closely, because love that requires overextension always corrects itself eventually, either through pain or through growth. And don't scroll, listen to this, because you chose growth, even when it hurt, even when it meant sitting with uncertainty. And your heart needs this right now because courage often looks like staying present without control. And listen carefully, because control is what the old version of you reached for when emotions felt unsafe. And don't scroll. Listen to this, because safety now comes from trust, not control, and your heart needs this right now because trust changes how you interpret silence, delays, and unknowns. And listen closely, because silence no longer feels like rejection to you, it feels like space. And don't scroll, listen to this, because space is not emptiness, it's possibility. And your heart needs this right now because possibility feels lighter than expectation. And listen carefully, because expectation created pressure. That distorted connection. And don't scroll, listen to this, because you are learning how to hold possibility without gripping it. And your heart needs this right now because gripping was what made love feel fragile. And listen closely, because fragility dissolves when you trust yourself to handle whatever comes. And don't scroll, listen to this, because you can handle whatever comes now, not because you've hardened, but because you're grounded. And your heart needs this right now because grounding gives you options. And listen carefully, because options mean you are no longer cornered by emotion. And don't scroll, listen to this, because being cornered kept you reactive. And your heart needs this right now because reaction pulled you out of alignment. And listen closely, because alignment feels like responding instead of reacting, choosing instead of chasing, observing instead of assuming. And don't scroll, listen to this, because those shifts are not accidental, they are the result of everything you've been through in this journey. And your heart needs this right now because journeys are not meant to repeat once the lesson is integrated. And listen carefully, because you have integrated the lesson, even if you don't feel done in the dramatic sense. And don't scroll, listen to this, because being done does not mean forgetting, it means no longer being controlled by memory. And your heart needs this right now because control is what drains life from love. And listen closely, because life is returning to your relationships, your creativity, your sense of self. And don't scroll, listen to this, because that return is subtle but powerful. And your heart needs this right now because you are reconnecting with yourself beyond this one story. And listen carefully, because the universe is not asking you to close your heart, it's asking you to keep it open without abandoning yourself. And don't scroll, listen to this, because openness with boundaries is maturity. And your heart needs this right now because maturity allows love to arrive without chaos. And listen closely, because chaos is no longer the proof of passion for you. And don't scroll, listen to this, because peace has replaced chaos as your compass. And your heart needs this right now because your compass is finally reliable. And listen carefully, because reliable inner guidance means you don't need external validation to move forward. And don't scroll, listen to this, because moving forward does not mean moving away from what mattered, it means carrying the lesson forward without carrying the weight. And your heart needs this right now because weight is what slowed you down before. And listen closely, because lightness is what allows destiny to catch up with you. And don't scroll, listen to this, because destiny does not chase frantic energy, it meets grounded energy. And your heart needs this right now because you are grounded. Not numb, not detached, but present. And listen carefully, because presence is what allows you to receive truth without distortion. And don't scroll, listen to this, because distortion came from fear, and fear has lost its grip on you. And your heart needs this right now because fear kept you guessing. And listen closely, because guessing has been replaced with knowing when to wait and when to move, and don't scroll, listen to this, because discernment is now your ally, not some